他16岁来华，见证中非建交过程，希望自己成为两国友谊的传承者、开拓者。就任总统后首次访华，他把中国称为最强劲的合作伙伴，并认为双边关系实现了跨越式进展。他反对外部干预，拒绝选边站队，强调亚太地区的未来不应由他人决定。菲律宾总统费迪南德·罗莫尔德兹·马科斯接受高端访谈独家专访，敬请收看。
关注国际焦点，洞察世界风云。大家好，欢迎收看本期高端访谈，我是王冠。2023年伊始，中国迎来了首位到访的外国元首，而他和中国的缘分要追溯到49年之前。当时年仅16岁的他和母亲，也是时任菲律宾第一夫人伊梅尔达访华，亲身经历了中菲外交关系的开启。而半个世纪之后，当他再次回到北京，他已经是菲律宾的现任总统。他就是我们今天的对话嘉宾，菲律宾总统马科斯。再次回到中国，他有怎样的感受？此访如何为双方希望构建的好邻居、好亲戚、好伙伴的3好关系注入新动能？让我们一起走进费迪南德·马科斯。So President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, welcome to Leaders Talk on CMG. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you for having me. Yes.
You first came to China as a
16 years old.
16 years old with your mom Imelda,
Yeah.
and met with Chinese leaders. Your father was president, of course, back then. If you think about it, half a century has gone by since that trip. Now returning as president yourself back to the city, what kind of memories and emotions are there?
It's all very clear in my mind. I will never forget it. How we first arrived in China. When we first got the invitation from then Prime Minister Zhou Enlai. And we first got the invitation and we were planning. And we did not know what to expect because in 1974, there was very little news coming out of China. And the only news we had was from the Western world. I remember very clearly, we were so curious when the plane was landing. We were all looking out and seeing what are we going. And at the end of the trip, they said, they're just like us. There's no difference. We were able to see many places. Actually ended up meeting with the chairman. I remember very clearly the chairman was very, very gracious. And my mother was saying, you know, you're chairman, you're a great leader. He said, no, I'm a teacher. I'm only a teacher. And she said, also me. When I was younger, I teach little children. And he said, that's why we are the same. That's why we are. And they got along very well from that point on. So he was. At that time, he needed help to walk already, but his mind was very, very clear. So it was remarkable and an amazing visit. And my mother loves to tell the story because the chairman said, he started coughing, clearing his throat. And my mother took out some of her own throat medicine and gave it to the chairman. And I was kicking under the table. Said, don't give him medicine. It might be not good for him. Maybe he's taking other medicine. No. And he took it. And he took it, a cough drop. And he took it. And he said, thank you. He was very, 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 very gracious. As a 16-year-old, I could not believe, I still can't believe that I was lucky enough to be in the same room as Chairman Mao Zedong. I can never ever forget what a historic and important moment it was.
Your mom was very emotional during that visit. I saw the footages of your mom wiping her tears.
Yes, because it was extremely important for the Philippines at that time. The graciousness of the invitation of Premier Zhou Enlai and the hospitality with which we were received, and to finally meet with the chairman, this great leader who we only knew from books and news reports, to finally be able to meet him, and most importantly, to be able to lay down the beginnings of our relationship was something that was overwhelming.
So in a way, Mr. President, you were one of the trailblazers of Sino-Philippines relations. Even at 16 years young,
What kind of a historical lens does that give you to look at China-Philippines relations throughout the decades?
Well, first of all, it is one of the most important parts of that experience is to watch China since 1974 until now 2023, and the remarkable progress that China has gone through, and the leadership of the party, of your presidents, that have taken China from what it was in 1974, which is still really very much a rural country, into what China is now, which is an economic powerhouse in the world, has been remarkable. And to have been for the Philippines to have been part of that evolution, because we had already our diplomatic relations, and we were continuing to consult with each other on many levels already beyond the diplomatic level, has been something that I have always watched with great interest, for the simple reason is I want to know what happened to the beginnings that we laid down in 1974. And I can only say that it has grown by leaps and bounds, and I do not see how it will slow down. I think the only way forward is to increase and strengthen and deepen that relationship between our two countries.
从上世纪70年代跟随母亲来到中国起，马克思亲身参与见证了中非关系的发展历程，是中非友好的建设者、支持者、推动者。当选总统后，马克思在与中国国家主席习近平的通话中表示，菲律宾政府将把非中关系作为外交政策重点方向。2022年6月，马克思出席第2届中非相知奖颁奖典礼时，将中国称为菲律宾最强劲的合作伙伴。
Our gratitude to the government of the People's Republic of China.
2022年10月底，马克思出席达沃萨马尔岛跨海大桥开工仪式，这是菲律宾近期开工的重要项目，由中国企业承建。2022年11月，亚太经合组织领导人非正式会议前夕，习近平主席在泰国曼谷会见了马克思总统。习近平指出，中方始终从战略高度看待中非关系。马克思表示，菲方期待同中方一道，挖掘潜力，拓展基础设施、能源、农业、人文等领域合作，构建更加稳健和强劲的双边关系。
Your administration said your visit will set a tone for China-Philippines relations in the next 5-6 years. What kind of tone do you think has been set? What is the most important outcome of your trip?
Well, of course, we are now, all of us, China included, every country in the world is emerging from the pandemic economy. And I think the partnerships that we make as a country, both China, both the Philippines and the other countries, the partnerships we'll make are the ones that will make us stable in this world now that is a little bit confusing. And so that I think gives us further opportunities to strengthen our relationship. And I think what difficulties there might be present with the territorial claims in the South China Sea, I think we are good friends, China and the Philippines. And these things happen between even good friends. But good friends stay good friends, even if we have these problems. And good friends talk about the problems and resolve them in a nice and equitable and to find a way that is mutually beneficial to both countries. And that's the way I see it is going. And the groundwork, the foundation that has been laid, that was laid since 1974 and subsequently with my father coming, and the actual formalization of diplomatic relations. I think to see how the groundwork that laid down is a very solid foundation on which we continue to build And that's, I think, the future for the Philippines and China.
You're talking about the South China Sea. It has long been a sticking point in bilateral relations, but you said repeatedly that they should not define our relationship. What is the latest regarding bilateral consultation on maritime disputes?
Well, right now we have these. We constantly have communication, but it is not so formalized. And that's perhaps one of the things that I would like to propose in this trip to your president, that we raise the level of communications. Both sides have a direct conversation and a direct link to their presidents, my officials to me, and Chinese officials to the president, Xi. And that way, we can avoid any possible misunderstandings, any possible mistakes. It is to make sure that not to aggravate the situation, but to calm things down.
How confident are you that the two countries can reach an agreement on maritime joint exploration and disputes?
I feel confident, as I said, the foundations that we have laid, because it is not the only discussion that China and the Philippines are having. We talk on very many bases. We talk on the GTG, government-to-government basis. We talk on the on private sector basis. We talk on PPP basis. All of these things. Even we have educational exchanges, we have cultural exchanges. So those I think help solidify the relationship, and that's why I do not think that any difficulties will change, because those other areas will not change. They continue to grow stronger. They continue to become more important to our two countries. And because of that, I feel very confident that we will be able to move forward. Now, as you say, well, there are two ways of saying the expression, God is in the details or the devil is in the details. But we have many people who are working very hard to try and make this a success. I understand that that applies also to the Chinese side, and I think there's good desire from both sides to make it succeed. So, if the two sides are determined and committed to the success of that project, of that program, then we will find a way. I'm confident.
Yeah, you talk about the importance of sticking with bilateral consultations. You're not a big fan of outside intervention, and you said, and I quote, the problems are with us and China. If the Americans come in, it is bound to fail. Can you elaborate your thinkings behind the statement?
Well, I said that at the point where we were having discussions with China, those in two previous administrations, and it was the Americans offered to be the third party between China and the Philippines. And I said, that's not going to succeed because you're a party in interest. It has to be between the Philippines and China. It can involve ASEAN because ASEAN, of course, is part.
The claimants.
And so, but it has to be someone from the region who has an interest in Asia Pacific. And I think that statement has now evolved into the thinking that the future of the Asia Pacific region must be decided by the Asia Pacific region, not anyone else.
Talking about geopolitics, Mr. President, there have been a number of Washington-led initiatives which Beijing considers thinly veiled China containment institutions, such as IPAF on the economic side and AUKUS and Quad on the security side. How necessary do you consider these institutions in this day and age?
Well, it's, I guess, a response from the Americans for what they see. The Philippines, again, has a very simple foreign policy. It's a foreign policy that commits itself to peace and that is guided by the national interest. And that national interest dictates that we will not allow ourselves to be drawn back into the old Cold War formula, where one has to take sides. The only side I'm on is Philippine side.
Fair enough.
Very simple, and I think that is a good guide.
1月4日，习近平主席在与马克思总统的会谈中强调， 中方愿同菲律宾及其他东盟国家聚焦合作与发展，维护好东盟在区域合作中的中心地位，推进5大家园建设，推动本地区摆脱冷战阴影，免于阵营对抗，持续成为发展繁荣高地。近年来，中菲两国持续深化“一带一路”倡议，同菲律宾多建好建规划对接，开展近40个政府间合作项目。在菲律宾首都马尼拉，中菲友谊桥横跨帕西格河，成为网红打卡地。在菲律宾北部巴利瓦特村，中国太阳能技术结束了当地村民没有电的日子。在齐科河流域，中企承建的灌溉工程解决了灌溉用水不稳定的难题，为菲律宾北部粮仓提供源源不断的水源。菲律宾是中国杂交水稻技术走出国门、走向世界的第一站。袁隆平院士曾30多次来到这里，与菲律宾人民合作攻克杂交水稻难以在热带生长的难关，培育出适合本地土壤气候的热带杂交水稻品种。如今，中国是菲律宾第1大贸易伙伴、第1大进口来源地和第2大出口目的地，有力促进两国疫情后经济复苏和繁荣振兴。菲律宾谚语说：“团结则生，分裂则死。”100年变局叠加世纪疫情、粮食危机、地区安全、气候变化等难题，是许多国家面临的时代之问。而合作共赢、携手同行，是中菲两国给出的共同答案。
You will have met President Xi twice. What kind of a leader do you think he is?
Well, clearly he is a very strong, stabilizing leader. It was welcome news for us to hear that during the 20th Party Congress that he was re-elected as president, and that will bring stability to China, which will bring stability to the rest of the region. And that's why I think that there is much that we can do working together in the future.
There could be a number of deliverables from your trip. Around a dozen agreements are expected to be signed between China and the Philippines. How important are they, Mr. President? And how, in what ways do you expect them to translate into tangible benefits for everyday people on both sides?
It will translate into benefits for everyday people for the simple reason that we have in the Philippines identified certain areas that are prioritized for development and for our transformation of our economy, for this new economy that's the post-pandemic economy. And so this is, I think, something that I believe we will be able to strengthen and to make make it even more rapid in terms of the progress, because of the partnerships that we will sign during this trip are to do with agriculture, to do with energy, renewable and traditional, to do with tourism, to do with the continuing investment of China in the Philippines in many, many areas, in infrastructure, which already China has been very heavily involved in the Philippines, and trade. So all of these are extremely important for all our countries at this point, for all countries. As I said, we try to navigate this rather difficult situation that we are facing around the world. Agriculture has become a high priority for the simple reason that the crisis in food supply and food prices has hit us very hard. It is a surprise still, I think, to many of us that a war very far away, halfway around the world, will affect food prices and food supply in a place like the Philippines. And China has already been of assistance to us because we have actually had many agricultural exchanges. And I remember many years ago, in the time of President Estrada, we were the only recipient of the rice hybrid.
Hybrid rice, yeah.
Yes, that was brought to the Philippines. It was actually tested. I was governor of the province then.
How are they helping the Philippines?
In the northern part of the Philippines. And we tested the hybrid rice, and the yields were very, very high. So we've been doing this for a long, long time. But there is new technology, there are new techniques, there are new strategies, there are new varieties.
Yeah, many people don't know this, but Mr. President, you're also the Minister of Agriculture.
Yes.
It's quite a juggle.
Well, it is. But I felt it was necessary because the situation in the Philippines was quite severe. And I thought that since we had to move very quickly, I thought that should be a priority. And having the president also carry the title and position of agriculture would make things go much quicker, because I thought if I put the secretary there, who is this secretary that can really get things going? And I said, the president is the only person in government that nobody can say no to. So I will be the secretary, and I will make sure that and we have made some very serious progress. We were very worried that at the end of last year, there would be some severe shortages in terms of food supply, and we were very worried about the increase in prices. And we've been able to lessen that. There's still a very high inflation rate, but much of that is imported, and so we're trying to reduce our importation. So all of these things have to be done around the agricultural sector. But then the agricultural sector is not farmers planting things in the crops into the ground. Agricultural sector includes also fisheries, includes also livestock growing. And so all of these have to be put together, and we have to create a support chain so that our farmers, our livestock growers, all of them, our fisher folk, are able to adjust as well, to bring higher production, so we do not no longer need to import food.
You have many other economic initiatives, including an infrastructure program called Build Better More. How do you see the synergy between your infrastructure program and China's Belt and Road Initiative?
There are many areas actually which are in consonance that would be very, very important to continue to explore. The Build Better More program is really the expansion of the infrastructure program of my predecessor. And not only did we continue all that was started in the previous administration, in the Build program, we have expanded it further. And China has been our partner in that. It's become terribly, terribly important to us. We cannot keep thinking in terms of surviving. That mindset should be disposed of that already. That was for the pandemic. All we wanted to do was survive. But the pandemic is more manageable now. So I think it's time to start thinking about how we flourish, how we become bigger, how we become better, how we become more efficient. Again, the subject is unavoidable. How do we handle climate change? Climate change keeps coming up because, especially in ASEAN, in APEC, the subject keeps coming up because we are the most affected. The Philippines itself is considered one of the most vulnerable, if not the most vulnerable countries for the effects of climate change. It will affect our tourism. It will affect our building infrastructure. It will affect our education. It will affect everything is affected. It will affect the way we run our government and how we will have to evolve the government. So all of these elements seem to become more cohesive, not in a good way, but they've come together, and we have to deal with it in a holistic manner.
One last question. A lot of Chinese are craving for their first overseas trips, and now that we're moving beyond COVID, as president, maybe you can give them some tips on why Philippines.
We have been hosting you. Before the pandemic began, there were about 1.5 million Chinese who would come to visit the Philippines. And we hope that in the future you will come and visit us again, and even bigger numbers, as we miss you, and we think that you come to the Philippines, that you will again enjoy the beauty of our country, and much more importantly, the kindness and hospitality of our people.
President Bongbong Marcos, welcome back to China, and thank you for this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
整个专访过程当中，马克思总统的怀旧和坦率给我留下了很深的印象。他用大段篇幅动情地回忆了年少时来中国的往事，说那份情谊弥足珍贵。他说，作为现任总统，传承父辈为中非关系打下的基础是一份责任。他认为务实合作一直是中非关系的主流，分歧总有办法去化解。好朋友不是说从来没有分歧，而是遇到问题解决问题，携手前行。而这，他认为才是更牢固的友谊。好，感谢您收看本期高端访谈，